The Battle of the Little Bighorn was fought on June 25, 1876, between the U.S. Army 7th Cavalry and the combined forces of the Lakota Sioux and Northern Cheyenne tribes, along the banks of the Little Bighorn River in present-day Montana. Many Americans refer to the battle as Custer's Last Stand. To the Lakota, it is known as the Battle of the Greasy Grass. The 7th Cavalry was led by George Armstrong Custer. The Native American forces were led primarily by Chief Crazy Horse and Chief Gall, who were inspired by the visions of Chief Sitting Bull. After dividing his forces, Custer, along with approximately 265 of his men, were annihilated. 5 of the 7th Cavalry's 12 companies were destroyed. The battle lasted about an hour. The battle is considered the greatest victory for Native American tribes in what are collectively known as the Indian Wars. The battle is also considered one of the biggest defeats in the history of the U.S. Army. Besides Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer, the battle claimed the lives of 2 of his brothers, Thomas and Boston Custer, as well as a nephew and a brother-in-law. Chief Crazy Horse surrendered to the United States in 1877, less than a year after the Battle of the Little Bighorn. In late 1877, he was stabbed with a bayonet while attempting to escape custody. Chief Gall surrendered to the United States in 1880 and was relocated to the Standing Rock Indian Reservation. There he became a farmer and served as a judge on the reservation's Court of Indian Affairs. He died in 1894. Sitting Bull and many of his tribe escaped to Canada, where they remained in exile for 4 years. In 1881, he, along with 186 of his followers, returned to the United States and surrendered. In 1885, he left the Standing Rock Agency Reservation to join Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West Show, where he earned about $50 a week. His performances, which consisted primarily of riding his horse once around the arena, gave him celebrity status. In 1890, fearing his escape from the reservation, Sitting Bull was arrested. A scuffle ensued, in which 16 people died, including Sitting Bull. In the decades that followed, there were many tall tales of Americans being the lone survivor of Custer's Last Stand. All have been refuted. But one living creature from the U.S. forces did survive the day, a gelding named Comanche, who belonged to Captain Miles Keogh. Many other cavalry horses certainly survived the hostilities, but most of them were taken as spoils of war by the victorious Native Americans. Comanche was badly injured and left on the battlefield, where he was found 2 days after the battle ended. After being nursed back to health at Fort Lincoln, he was treated like royalty at Fort Meade and then at Fort Riley, where he died in 1891 at the approximate age of 29. He is the first horse, and one of only 2, to be given a military funeral with full military honors in the United States. His remains were preserved, and his taxidermy mount is on display at the University of Kansas Natural History Museum.